Let me show you the shape of Graphic Facilitator Confidential. Now, if you've seen me for any length of time, you know I love this word shape because something can take a shape can emerge, or you can create the shape of something. And I love the fact that you have so much control in what kind of business you shape for yourself in this work. So I'll be talking about finding your unique path, how that path moves and changes over time, and I'll certainly be talking about the shape your specific business will take, because what you choose for your business may not be the same as what I have chosen for mine, or that colleague you admire on social media, or whoever. We each get to create the own shape for our practice, as long as each one of us is providing great value for our clients in the room. We actually have tons and tons and tons of control or influence or ability to shape what our business looks like. I think when you have this business, there's a whole lot of looking sideways and freaking out because you're thinking they're doing it right, I'm doing it wrong, or they're getting paid this, I'm not getting paid that, or they look like they're doing all these glamorous projects and I'm in a crappy ballroom with no windows. But you get to shape your own business, and that is what is most important. And as we know, a lot of people who look like they're having very glamorous projects, they're shaping exactly what you see. So a little bit of a tangent about the shape of your business, but let's talk about the shape of the course and how that will help you shape your business. Graphic Facilitator Confidential is a comprehensive online course all about the business side of graphic facilitation. This is not about the work in the room itself serving clients. This is about all the stuff that happens around that gets you into the room. So I think a whole lot of folks love the work in the room with their clients, but don't love all the stuff around it. And I am here to help you shape a business that you will love and give you all sorts of great guidance to help you make the choices that make the business side much more lovable. I know it's not everyone's jam, but I think that there are ways that you can craft your business, the decisions you make, the ways you communicate, all this good stuff, how you build your client relationships, all towards being happier in the work, not just in the room, but overall in your projects and in your career for a good long time. So the comprehensive online course takes place over 5 modules. Technically, there's always a 0 module, which is simply about orientation, navigation, welcoming you with some overarching context. So in this particular course, there's two major kind of big picture videos that help inform all 5 modules. Now, the other 5 modules are each taking a giant topic within this subject of building your graphic facilitation business. And they are released week by week. So when you sign up for the class, you immediately get module 0 and your first module. A week later, you get module 2. A week after that, module 3, and so forth. Now, there is definitely sequence designed into the program, but this is a program where sequence is a little less important. It's not so important that you absolutely watch this first and watch that later, but sometimes there might be a little bit of confusion where you're thinking, well, what is she talking about there? Turns out I was talking about it earlier in the course. So there is some sequence by design, less important here than it is, say, in a course like the Agerbeck method, which is where the sequence is more kind of, integral to the way you're learning. In this case, you're getting each of these 5 modules, 1 a week, and after those 5 weeks, you still have access. So after 5 weeks, it's not as if the course disappears. You have lifetime access to the course. So you can always come back, watch, rewatch, whatever timing, whatever pace works for you and your business. I will say, personally, I would rather have you watch one module and then put that module into practice before moving on to the next module. Because I think what happens a lot of times is we buy a course and think, well, I've done that thing. I'm like, no, you just bought that course, right? And then you watch the course and you think, I've done that thing. And you're like, no, you just watched the course. What really is going to matter in this is putting these ideas in action for your own business. So I know that's not a sexy thing to say. I wish it was as easy as buying a course. I wish it was as easy as watching a course, but it's not. But I definitely have broken down this big, beautiful world of the business side of graphic facilitation into these 5 big categories of each module, and then these individual lessons within those modules. So let me show you what the shape of this specific course is. Like I said, we've got that module 0, which is about navigation and context setting. One big video in that module is your own path. How do you create your own path, and what are the general phases of your career? So you can help kind of orient and say, okay, I'm right about here, and this is the direction I want to go into. The second orientation video in the 0 module is simply a map of a project. Like, what does a project look like, and where are you in that process, and where's your client in that process? And the thing will go into beautiful, beautiful detail in the 5th module. What are the specific ways you're communicating what you do through different documents, through conversations, through documents, through contracts, through invoices, through all this stuff that makes you an impeccable professionalism and brings a whole lot more joy, because you just got everything's clear for you and your clients. The whole thing is better. That's just the deal. I'm telling you, it really is a huge amount of joy in this work is clear communications and being able to talk about your process so that your clients understand you. I think a whole lot of you are watching this thinking, oh God, another project where I love it once I get in the room, but I don't love the client relationship part. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't ask the right questions. They don't ask the right questions. And then something goes sideways in the project. You are here watching this video. I hope you will join me in the course to learn all the ways to sweep those problems away with clear communications and really good infrastructure and systems in your business. And the beautiful thing about doing this infrastructure work in your business is that it makes everything easier in the future. Like, I've thought about my graphic facilitation business, and even though I'm focusing much, much more on speaking and teaching and writing, I personally don't have any particular reason to give up the graphic facilitation side, because I've got all my systems in place. When a new lead comes in, it's this frictionless system. And then it's simply a matter of, did I get the project? Did I not get the project? Do I go do the project? But all those systems make this business extremely easy in the larger picture of my life. That's what I want for you. So 0 module orientation. First module is shaping your practice. And again, that lovely, beautiful word of shaping. Now, in this case, I use the word practice. I like it a little bit because it's a little bit more than business. I think a lot of us come from arts disciplines, and a lot of us get into the work because we love the people side, not the business side. But what I love about practice is not just that it's a little friendlier than business, but that when we do our work, we are developing a practice. We are developing not just the way we draw, the way we listen, the way we think and organize what we're doing in the room, but we are developing these processes of what tools do we know, what methodologies do we know, and there is an absolute component of mastery and craftsmanship. So I love thinking about visual practice and what is my own individual practice, and yes, that practice is a business that is making money and paying bills. So in shaping your practice, this really is about how do you figure out what you want your business to be, what shape do you want it to take, and again, my shape can be different than your shape, and how do you package it in a way that you can bring it out into the world. Now, I think a whole lot of people watching this module are going to be especially excited if you are just starting out, because I understand how much confusion there is out there, because you know you want to do this work, but you have no idea how to get started. What exactly do you need to get yourself packaged professionally so that you can get out there and meet people and describe what you do? That's what I'm here to share with you. And certainly if you do have experience already, this isn't like day one for you. You got a few years down, maybe even quite a number of years. This module is all about helping you look at what you're already doing with fresh eyes and with my specific perspective. So, and certainly my perspective from my experience and what I've gleaned and collected talking to colleagues for years and years and years. So within shaping your practice, the first video is about packaging your practice, and that is about what are the questions you're going to have to answer for your client. That's it. Because I see a whole lot of people putting themselves out there with only portfolio samples and a contact page. And I don't blame any client, any potential client looking at those websites, looking at those, whatever the business card, the website, the whatever thing you've built to package your practice, and just thought, well, I don't really understand what that finished product means to me and what I'm trying to do. So this is actually two parts. The first part is about those key questions you have to answer for your clients. The second part is much more specific to graphic facilitation around language, around imagery. I give you lots and lots of nuts and bolts. I've seen this, do this. I've seen this, don't do that. Okay? So that's packaging your practice. That's giving it enough shape that you can go out there and be a professional, look professional, and get those great opportunities. The second one is getting down to the 3 essential things you need to get started. What are those 3 things you absolutely need to hit the ground and go? Again, if you may already have those 3 things, this will be a great opportunity to refine them. Next, one of those 3 things, no surprise, is a website, and I'll go into very clear detail. What exactly do you need on your website to get started, and then what can you add later? Because again, what I'm trying to do in all of this in these videos is to make it crystal clear, this is what's most essential. Make sure you have this done first. Because I think so often when we are looking, instead of looking forward on our own business, and we're looking side to side, we think, well, they did all these things, I need to do those things. You don't. You need to do a few things very well, and that's what I'm here to share with you. So I'll go into detail on the website. And then lastly, in this first module, I'll talk about the role of geography. Where you live does have a large impact in how you shape your practice. So I'm looking forward to sharing that video with you, because I think there's a lot of just very honest, this is what geography means. This is where, where you live impacts what you can do. And so where you live, we'll talk about that. And you can see here, all these black ovals, these black paper ovals, were from a different video, which you may have seen up here on this page or over there through another link. These are these very specific topics that are addressed in these sections. So shaping your practice, first thing, and absolutely where to start if that is where you are. The second module is all about finding leads and landing gigs. This is that big scary topic of sales. I've never thought about what I do as sales. I've always thought about what I do is educating new clients in what I do, what the value of it is, and how we can work together. That's it. And because this work is so weird, a huge part of our marketing is education. That's just it. We cannot assume somebody comes to our website and they know what the heck it is we do. Very much to that point of the website that's just a portfolio pieces. That gives no education to that client. And unfortunately, when we don't educate our clients, that's when we become the commodity. That's when people think, just get one of those people who does that drawing thing, because we're not sharing our process, we're not sharing the best practices, and we're not helping to educate those clients to understand how to be true partners with us. So all of this and finding leads and landing gigs is just about who the heck do you get, how do you connect with new potential clients, how do you communicate with them, how do you get to that landed gig. So the first video in this module is what I call Johnny Appleseed, and that's all about planting seeds. Marketing really is about planting as many seeds as possible, even in places where you're not sure they're going to germinate, but to very carefully plant each one of those seeds, because you can't plant one seed, meaning you can't contact one specific person and think this is going to be the project, because there's so much on their side of the equation that we don't control. Timing, budget, decision making, any of that stuff. So we can't just plant one seed. We've got to plant lots of seeds and see which ones germinate. So first one's about this general idea of how do you approach marketing in a way that it won't eat your brain. And I give you tons of very specific people to reach out to, not individuals, but types of people to reach out to that I have found, that colleagues have found useful in being the right people to market to. This one's Monster, and this is social media. Much like not letting marketing eat your brain, we absolutely do not want social media to eat your brain, because it probably is already. So this is all about social media in context of this work specifically, and how to keep a very clear sense of how to wrangle that monster in a way that works for you. Tame that monster so it doesn't feel like this hungry being that's always kind of yapping at you saying, "Feed me, I need more posts." This next video in this second module is handling client questions. Somebody comes to you and they said, "Hey, I'm wondering what your rates and availability are." How do you have those communications with that potential client that gets them to yes? The last video in the series is they said yes, now what's next? So very clearly, how do you segue from marketing to actually managing that new project? Now, I'm going to go into the third and fourth modules, and I want you to kind of look at the big picture of the shape of this. You'll see that all up here, much of these questions that you have coming into this course are heavily in the first, the second, and the fifth modules. And that's because that's all the stuff around how do you get the business systems down, and a whole lot of it's about how do you contract, how do you get paid, how do you find new projects, which is fantastic, right? Now, I wanted to make sure in this course that I also gave you this third and fourth module that are about the work itself. Not in the room, but just sort of how do you think about this career when you're actually doing the work. Now, this third module is the field guide to the graphic facilitator. And this is about life on the road. And life on the road for us, specifically as visual practitioners, as graphic facilitators, can have a lot of overlap with folks who do other kinds of service-based or consulting-based work. But I want to talk about our specific work. And for those of you who have not done that other kind of work out on the road, what the heck is it like, and how do you manage it? And how do you actually enjoy it? Because this is where a whole lot of our wear and tear and absolutely impacting our longevity in this business, building this career, is what is it like out there on the road doing the work again and again. So the videos within this module are how do you prep for the project, which definitely dovetails into, yes, what's next? How do you get yourself ready to do that project and be present and show up as your best professional self for those clients? Certainly just some basics of business travel. I think I've got some good, I hate the word hacks, but lots of little hacks, lots of little tips on how to navigate that more easily. How do you make your hotel home so it doesn't just feel like another room that you happen to be in for a night or 2 nights? How do you hit your reset button? This work is extremely intense, and it just is. It just is. We're like the hardest working people in those rooms. And how do you set that reset button the night before a project, between days on a project, so that again you are ready to roll and be your best professional self when you show up that next morning, ready to go. This is actually borrowed from my DC keynote, and that's the life cycle of a graphic facilitator. And what I love about this is thinking about what do you bring into the work before you enter it, what happens during that career, and how do you exit, and certainly talking about these two definitely very much are about how to avoid burnout in the work. And lastly, how do you think about your own professional development? Because this is work where nobody else can tell you exactly what to do. How is it that you get to the next level? And a lot of you may be signing up for this course because you feel like you're at some kind of plateau. You could have a plateau with the work in the room itself. You can certainly have a plateau on the business side of the work. So how is it that you keep on developing what you do, your ability to be that impeccable professionalism, to be responsive, to be adaptive, to do amazing work in the room with those clients? So how do you navigate that for yourself? Because again, we're not the kind of business that has really specific accreditation programs or professional development programs. So that is for us to decide, and I look forward to guiding you on those topics. Now that's the third module about life on the road. The fourth module is your place in the field. And this is the stuff where it's a lot of stuff that's unspoken, that's sort of like, side conversations at our conferences. And that is very simply, it's a lot of the comparisonitis. It's a lot of the, what I call comparisonitis, which is you're spending too much time looking sideways. That person's doing this. I'm not. I'm inferior. They're superior. This person looks like they're going to the most glamorous place in the world. I'm stuck right here, right? And throughout the course, it very much is about putting on your business blinders and looking forward. That's how you make progress. It's when we look sideways that we end up standing still or moving very slowly. So in the lay of the land, it's all about what is that larger field? How is it that you relate to your colleagues in the field? Some of this, you'll make some incredible, incredible, incredible friendships. Some of this is meeting folks you can't trust farther than you can throw them. Like, it's just, of course, there's good people, there's bad people, there's people you resonate with, there's people you absolutely do not. That's life, right? This work is being done by humans. But I want to give you a very clear sense of how do you fit yourself in this larger field? How do you work with colleagues? How do you work with referrals? How do you do subcontracting? And I'm very excited, I think, for really the first time to say this so explicitly on record for this work, is to talk about the ethics of it. Because we know when things feel ishy, when things go bad, either with a client or with a colleague or with a facilitation partner. Let's talk explicitly about ethics and how we can be the most professional in integrity in our work to really help create a far more professional field overall. You got some people rocking it, you got some people blowing it. I would love to have you be in this course learning these things, watching these videos, and be part of this conversation about how do we create a stronger field for all of us. And this is not to scare you off. I know this is probably the least sexy part of the course, but I think it's absolutely vital. Because I think so many times when people find this work of graphic facilitation, it's this amazing discovery. They're like, what? I get to do this for a living? And people will pay me? And they'll pay me how much? And you just have these giant hearts in your eyes, which is a beautiful thing. And as you kind of get out of that cloud of initial confusion, which I'm here to, all of this is here to help you out of that cloud of initial confusion of, okay, now I know I want to do this, but how on earth does this work? Once you get out of that and you start getting out in the world and you start working with colleagues, or you start meeting colleagues, or you start, you have a cruddy client experience, any of those things, that's when those hearts just disappear and you're like, but I thought this was it. I thought this was a magical utopia of work and it would be great forever. And a lot of ways it is. And in some ways it's not. So that's why I built the 4th module, just to give you a better sense of what is that lay of the land, what is the terrain, what are, the pitfalls, what are the beautiful spaces, and help you navigate that beautifully. Again, very much so that you can feel in integrity in your work as you're doing it, and you can enjoy more longevity across your career. Now the 5th module, there's lots and lots and lots of crunchy, very specific details in this 5th module, which is the 5 touch points for impeccable professionalism. These are the points in the process where you're in contact with your client, and that is that beautiful opportunity to communicate clearly, to share your systems, to share your process, to have that infrastructure working for you so that you take that friction out of the equation. You're not babysitting invoices. You're not, anticipating the problems coming up in a project. You have all this stuff built into how you work to make your work easier. Because the work itself in the room is already hard. It's already intense, and that's not going to change. Like, that's just the deal. When we are truly present, when we are truly responsive and anticipating the needs of our clients, the folks who sign our checks, and the participants in the room, we're all in. Like, there's not a way to dial this down, in my experience. If you're dialing it down, I would say you're not that true professional. So given all of that, let's take out as much of the work and the friction all around that. And there's tons and tons and tons of very concrete things you can do that I've learned from my experience, and I'm so excited to share with you. So this is absolutely where we get into first contact. How do you make a great first impression with that client? Some of this definitely overlaps with the first module and the second module. Then once we get into new lead and project kickoff, this is where we get into the very, very specific details I think a whole lot of you are looking for: pricing, invoicing, contracting, those big scary things that just keep people stuck. I am here to help you get unstuck and moving, and not just moving, but moving confidently in this work. So there's so much around this, which, what to charge, how do I have different rates for different people? When do I discount my fees? How the heck do I use a contract? I think that sounds really scary. That's the general I. Brandy, I am here to tell you that contracts are actually your best friend, and exactly why. So all these things, how do you invoice folks? How do you navigate late payments? All those kind of things. So many times, certainly when I did the pilot of this program in 2017, so many of these things where people would say, well, what do you do if this happens? And what do you do if this happens? And what if you do when this happens? And this certainly happens when I travel and teach. If somebody has me, if we're sitting down for a meal or we're on break, I get these questions. Certainly I invite these questions in the lab, my 3-day workshop. Actually, that's a little less about the business side, but generally, I've got a lot of people asking me, so what do you do when this happens? And what do you do when this goes wrong? And what happens when you don't get paid? And almost always my answer is that doesn't happen. and I don't think it's just that I'm like magically putting out a don't mess with me vibe. That could be part of it, and I'm happy for that. And any kind of don't mess with me vibe I can rub off on you is fantastic. But I think the bigger thing, the bigger reason I don't have those kinds of friction and I rarely run into those problems is because I've got my systems figured out, the infrastructure is strong, and my communications are very clear. I think those are the biggest components, and I am sharing everything I know in that 5th module. So that is the shape of Graphic Facilitator Confidential. Again, all of it is to help you shape your own business. Of course, I'm going to share my experiences, but throughout this course, it's about making the right choices for you. We don't need a bunch of Brandy clones. You could choose, if you try to copy me, you could find you're miserable because that shape does not work for you, your business, how your business fits into your life and your quality of life. We all make these choices for ourselves. We all have different details, variables, factors that are in our individual lives. So I want you to find the right shape for your business and how to create those beautiful, beautiful, clear communications, that impeccable professionalism, those super solid systems that all help you actually enjoy the business side of graphic facilitation. Not just tolerate it so you can get into the room, but actually enjoy the entire process from putting yourself out there and here's what you do, and do that with joy and confidence, through getting that new lead and how do you communicate with that client, to, the paperwork, which actually can be very easy once you kind of get those systems in place. And those documents are actually what makes everything super easy. Being able to really be open and focused in that room, be well rested, make that hotel your home, be super responsive to those people in that space, in that event. How do you package everything up and hand it off to the client, and how do you get that final payment? And how to be ready for the next project. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was clarifying. I certainly welcome questions, and I certainly hope to see you in Graphic Facilitator Confidential.